What's going on, y'all? This your boy TG3 back at it again with another phenomenal Fatherhood Friday. Shout out to all the dads out there holding it down. We got another episode today with my guy Lyndon Jones in the building.
What's going on? What's up?
Yes, sir. I'm super pumped about this. So Lyndon and I actually met in the gym a long time ago. Instantly became brothers a long time ago. Like I met you, we connected on the story. You know, I think you had the boot on.
I did. I tore my Achilles.
Yeah, and then I had got out of one.
Yep.
So then I had seen you, which, by the way, I just want to drop this real quick that if you haven't seen the website, go check it out. But also, I had just got out of a boot. So I seen him in the boot, and I was like, oh, let me go offer this man some encouragement. I don't think enough of us do that. You know what I mean? So just something to think about real quick. But anyway, I dropped by. I'm like, yo, I see you in here working out. Mad respect for that. You know, I had just got out of the boot, so I guess just talk about that, you know, that whole story, like how that was, especially coming back from the Achilles. Like, I know Kobe was a part of it, so that's super dope. But, yeah, I'll let you go on that.
Yeah, that was a wild season of life because I was out playing basketball, doing a move I've done a million times and tore my Achilles, right? So, you know, I live in the gym, so I was like, man, there's no way I could not be working out. I can't just be, like, sitting in my apartment, like, resting. So that's why I was at the gym in the boot. And when we met, and you were like, man, Matt, respect, man. You're still going hard. Like, man, you got the boot on. I just got out of one. And I think you had a different injury. It wasn't an Achilles. It was something else.
Yeah, I had a broken ankle.
You had a broken ankle?
Yeah.
You said you were just out of it. I was just like, I don't even think I had my surgery yet at that time. And we started to, you know, talk and connect on that similarity. But then the similarities increased. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I got 2 kids. And then you're like, I got a boy and a girl. I was like, I got a boy and a girl. And then, like, they're kind of like the same age.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's crazy. And then we started talking about our ex-wives. And you're telling me the story. I was like, is she Latina? And you're like, yeah. I was like, I knew she was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, mine is too. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So it was just like connection after connection after connection. I was like, yeah, at that point, I was like, I know this is the kindred spirit.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate that. It's always cool, too, because it's like you meet so many people. I know in your profession, you meet a lot of people. I meet a lot of people. So it's always refreshing to connect with somebody that you feel like gets you immediately and then, like, has that bond. So that's been pretty awesome. So yeah, this mostly conversation, like I just wanted to have them be a fly on the wall for, you know, just us talking. But I think that one of the things that has always really impressed me about you is that, you know, you're very much an advocate for single dads. You're very much an advocate for showing up for your kids, like regardless of the circumstances. And I think that there's a lot of dads out there that can either make an excuse or, you know, just sometimes when you're younger, it's like you can't even really see the possibilities, you know what I mean? Just because maybe you didn't have that example or maybe you don't know a role model that has done that before. So I would like to hear from you, like, you know, what's some of the mindset that you've had that kind of helps you navigate all these different trials and tribulations, if you will, to still be available for your kids? Like what keeps you going in different ways that you found to be able to navigate those tough times, to be able to like still connect with them. And like even the lunches that you do, like you put the notes in there. I was like, yo, I gotta get on my postcard notes real quick. You feel me? I got some index cards and everything.
The kids don't even be reading my love notes. I'm like, did you read the note I wrote you? No. Okay. Okay. You'll miss it when I stop it.
Right? That's how it is.
But no, that's real. I appreciate that. And you're a phenomenal father as well. I mean, being the leader of your brand is obviously because of, you know, who you are. So, you know, for me, bro, I had a great dad growing up. And a lot of people are not privileged to have an active, involved, and present father, but I was blessed to have that in my life. And so, you know, I'm a firm believer that when it comes to parenting, more times than not, you're going to be whatever your parents were to you in the context of your own personality. So that's the blueprint that you were given. Your parents is what you know, so you're going to do what they did with you in the context of your personality. So unless you make conscious decisions, for better or for worse, to do something different, right? So, you know, I had a good dad. My dad was the standard for me. You know, I always looked up to my dad. I always admired him. I wanted to be like him when I was young. And so he's the precedent. You know, he's the bar for me. And so I wanted to take all of the good qualities I saw and felt and experienced from my father and implement that into my parenting. But as good as my dad was, he's not a perfect dad. And I love him. He doesn't have to be perfect. You know, he always did the best of what he knew what to do in those situations. So there were areas in his parenting that I identified that, you know what, I want to be better than my dad in these ways. And I try to implement that in my parenting as well as with my kids. And I'm not a perfect dad. I hope that my kids look at me as a parent and be like, you know what, I had a good dad, but I want to be better than him in these other areas. And you just keep passing down the generational blessing of improvement and growth in your family. So, you know, I love my kids. They mean everything to me. They've been a lifesaver to me. There have been plenty of times in life, bro, I was ready to throw the whole towel in, step out of this life all the way. And I come back to the fact, the purpose of my existence is to be a father for these kids, and I have to be here for them, irrespective of how I feel, irrespective of how life is going, irrespective of how hard it gets, what I lose, what I go through. I'm meant to be here to serve them. And until that job is done, I'm here. So, but they've been such a blessing to me. It's such a privilege to be a father. It's a blessing. I don't take it for granted.
I love that, man. Yeah, because, they definitely going to keep you motivated. That's for sure.
They do. They stress me out, but they keep me motivated. It's a balance.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance. But I know you said that, I'm very similar to you in the sense that I had a great father. I like what you said about him not being perfect. You don't have to be perfect to be phenomenal.
You don't. I love that. I love when you put that in the captions. That's a real one.
Yeah. And it just randomly was a thing. And then my fiance was like, oh, you should just say that more. And I was like, bet.
Yeah, it's
you know
true.
what I mean?
Yeah.
She's a genius. So shout out to her.
Yeah.
This is one of the things I've been wanting to talk about, never brought up too, is that what's one of the things that, for you having a father, if you having a great dad, what's one of the things that you've noticed that you've been making a conscious decision to change in your parenting as a dad now that you are in that position?
Yeah. Once again, my dad's a great dad for me. He taught me a lot of things, a lot of life lessons early in life. But one of the things that I wanted to strive to be better at in a certain area of being a dad was emotional intelligence and emotional presence. A lot of times as men, you think because I'm physically there or I'm financially contributing, then I'm doing my job. But you neglect the emotion of the person that is entrusted to your care. And so as good as my dad was, we didn't always have an emotional bond. I would be hurt by certain things that he did or said or didn't do or whatever. Or I was just going through a difficulty in life, being a young man, a boy, a man, whatever. I'm hurt. I'm struggling emotionally. My dad, he just didn't have the emotional IQ to step into those places of my life and be the father I needed emotionally. So that's a key area where I wanted to grow and improve and to parent with higher emotional intelligence, specifically to my son, of course to my daughter, of course. But, having a girl as a dad, she hits your sweet spot every time, but your emotions for your daughter, it's like natural. It just pours out of you, but your emotions to your son, it's a little different because he's supposed to be a man. He has to be tough. He's going to go through hardship. So we gotta toughen him up for life. And so I have had to learn how to be tender with my son, to allow him to express his emotions. It's okay to cry, to not invalidate him, to let him be who he is and not kind of force certain code on him. You're a boy, you can't like pink. You're a boy. Boys don't like pink. Moving away from thinking like that. Well, what's wrong with pink? It's just a color. It's just like red. There's not gender specific colors.
Yeah.
So it's just things like that where with him, I'm trying to parent with more emotional intelligence and not to be so hard on him and have him teach himself how to suppress his feelings. I want him to learn how to be more self-expressed and emotionally expressive when he grows into his 20s and 30s and up. So, yeah, that's a key area of where I wanted to improve from my father. What would you say? You had a good dad. What does that look like for you and your parenting?
Exact same.
Yeah?
Yeah, I didn't even know that it was an issue until my mom passed. Yeah, because whenever something that heavy happens, it's I actually I was having a really hard time. Got a therapist after I got her. She was like, I remember, I'll never forget this conversation. She was like, oh yeah, Tillman, sometimes you could be mad, you could be livid. There's an entire bandwidth of emotions. And I really sat down and thought about it, and I was like, dang, that's crazy to me, because all I really knew my whole life was happy, sad, angry, maybe 4. I could name, you know, but she had an entire like bandwidth.
Yeah.
So that whole process was a lot about first just identifying like what was even going on, you know what I mean? And I find that too, like, that's been a tough adjustment for me as well. Like with my son, like with our daughters, we'll be more so like in a search of trying to identify what's going on first. You know,
Right.
with our son, it's just like they run up here crying and we're just like, what's the problem? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
So that's kind of been a major shift for me as well. But, and then having that compassion, like you said, like to just be like, okay, let me accurately assess the situation. And sometimes you don't have to have the right things to say. Like you can literally just hug them and they'll just be like, all right. And then they go back up and play and jump off a mountain like the next 5 minutes later.
Right.
You're just like,
Literally.
all right, cool. All right, I guess I did it. You know what I mean? But it's like we always feel like we have to fix it. So
Yeah.
I guess in that process of me learning how to identify and then how to work through that myself, then I kind of learned how to get a bit better with that. And then also just with like not being so hard on myself for things. And then in return, it made me not so hard on my son because my fiance had pointed this out, which I spoke about before, but she was like, man, you're like, Tillman's really hard on himself. And I noticed that's something that you do. And I didn't even realize that until I saw it in my son, you know? So I had a vulnerable moment with him. And that's another piece of it too. That's another thing you can do is that like actually like be vulnerable with them, you know? So I set him down and was like, hey, I've noticed this I think instead of like automatically diagnostics, I always like recruit them into it, right? So I'm like, hey, this is what I think is going on. You tell me what you think. Man, you will be surprised at what they tell you if you have a conversation with these kids.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I was like, he's like, yeah, and then they have such a baseline level of intelligence that like they don't have all the stress of like bills and worries and global warming and like what's going on in politics. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a kid level, so they can see things so pure.
Yeah.
So when he told me that, I was like, do you feel like that's what's happening? He's like, yeah. I was like, well, you know what? I feel like that's what's happening with me. You're the fourth, I'm the third. Why don't we work on this together? And he was like, all right, cool. Like, he was like, all right, like, you know, it was like a project for him. And then I left that conversation feeling so good because I was like, yo, that's really cool. You know what I mean? Like,
really?
We connected on that. So I never got that kind of stuff with my dad, bro.
No,
my dad was like ex-Army sergeant. So it was like...
That whole generation of men, they're not having those conversations with their kids. Absolutely not. And you had a drill sergeant?
Yeah. He used to wake me up every Saturday morning, like, on your feet, like to go outside and do yard work. And I'll be done with chores by like 3 p.m., started at 9 a.m. Like, we got to get outside in the yard before we get into this Houston heat and humidity. We're like done with the yard by like 10 a.m.
Did you have to call your dad, sir?
All the time.
Really? Like,
yeah.
So you didn't really say dad. You're like, sir? Like,
oh, no, I call him
name
dad.
And you'd be like, sir.
No, I call him dad. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But if he says something, I'll be like, yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. That's sir. But
we had a friend growing up. Their father was in the military, and he was big on sir and ma'am, like with his kids. But even to us, like we go to their house, like you couldn't say like Mr. So and so. Like you have to be like, sir. Like you have to address them by that. So I was like, oh my goodness.
He sounded like he might be a Game of Thrones fan. Because they were like, sir this, sir that, my lord.
It was sir and ma'am every time.
Yeah.
Not even Mr. or Mrs. Like, that was unacceptable. But
oh, man.
Yeah, that wasn't my experience.
We too lenient. That's what our problem is.
Yeah.
No, I'm just playing. I just mess with you.
We're gentle. Yeah, it's conscious parenting. That's what it is.
For sure. So, but yeah, that's the emotional side. Another thing I wanted to get into is the fitness, obviously.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The business of fitness. But I used to work in the gym industry.
Okay.
When I worked in the gym industry, I didn't have kids. You see what I'm saying? But I met a lot of adults that use their kids as excuses to not work out.
So terrible.
And it literally drives me to this day.
Me
because
too.
when I didn't have kids, I used to be like, man, you can't do that. You just get up in the morning or go in the afternoon, this and this and that. You just got to make time. And then after I had kids, I was like, bro, I get it now. I really get it. But I refuse to be that person. So for anybody out there that's trying to get healthier, they're trying to live a more healthier lifestyle, please share some ways that you've been able to incorporate that into your lifestyle. You have a whole brand behind it, and you're extremely fit, and you work out at the gym, you make time for it, you incorporate your kids in it, which I think is a big piece. So yeah, please explain to them.
You know, for me, bro, like working out and fitness is not about like a physique. It's not about like a weight. You know, it's not about any of that. Like at the beginning, middle, and end of the day, it's about your health and the quality of life that you want to have. You know, so for me, like one of my best friends, he's a surgeon. And this is how I got into fitness like 7-8 years ago. I was having a conversation with my friend. He's a surgeon. We're out to dinner. And he was like, man, I was like, how's work? He's like, man, a lot of the patients I have, it's crazy because they have a lot of preventable conditions. And basically, like, they would have ate better, they would have exercised more, they would have lived a healthier lifestyle, they wouldn't even be in my office. And he was like, and he was just having a conversation, but for me, it was like firing me up. And he was kind of like, you know, he was like, people don't realize how just a little bit goes a long way. He's like, if you worked out 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week, and you did that for years, he was like, you would prevent so many like health conditions. And I was like, man, that's so real. And simultaneously, I was watching my parents starting to have health issues from lifestyles, what they eat, didn't exercise, stress, anxiety, all types of different things. So that really resonated with me. So what keeps me going is overall health. It's the fact that like how you take care of your body in your 30s is going to dictate like where you are and where you're not physically in your 40s, and how you take care of your bodies in your 40s is going to impact your 50s, and so on and so forth. You know, so for me, like I want to be as physically fit as I can. Not about like, once again, it's not about physique and looks and six packs and none of that. It's just about like having the energy, having the strength, having the capacity and capability in my physical body to be there for my kids, to be there for my family, to attend to my business, to work in the community. Like I don't want to be 77 and be like confined. Like I want to be 77 and like living life still and being able to contribute and serve and love and be present like physically. So, but that starts with what you're doing right now, and you continue to do that over time. And it doesn't take a lot. You know what I mean? It's just like investing in stocks. Like you don't need $100,000 to go invest in a stock. Like you can just start investing like $50, and you do that over a long period of time. Like you'll look up and be like, I actually got some money. Fitness is the same way. Health is wealth. Like they're literally like compatible dichotomies of each other. So that's really the perspective. And then with adding my kids in it, it's like, one, it was a convenient thing. Like I still got to hit the gym. Like these kids not stopping me from going to the gym. We going to the gym with or without you. So it's like, here y'all come. I'm like, well, since we here, y'all might as well pick up these weights too.
Yep.
I'm not about to be the only one lifting. Y'all got groceries to carry. Y'all got backpacks to lift. I was like, Dad, y'all need to have some muscle too. Yeah. And, you know, and the kids are in sports. My son does karate. My daughter does gymnastics. So, like, they need to be training. Like, all right, my daughter wants to do the unbalanced beams. Like, you need upper body strength. So I got her bench pressing, got her shoulder pressing, getting her back strong, getting her core tight. Like, just little exercises. And the kids love it, bro. Yeah. Like, I'll monitor, like, their weight where we started, what they can, like, bench or squat or whatever. And then we'll come back a couple months later. I'm like, sweetheart, look. You were only bench pressing the bar at 35 pounds. Now you just did 65 for 2 reps. And she's like, I'm so strong. And you put that belief in your child early. My daughter is 8 years old going on 9, but she's been working out with me since she was 5. So I've instilled in her already, you're a strong woman. You can do it. You can push yourself. Guess what happens when we do that over 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? When she's an adult, she won't have to struggle with the belief that she's not a strong woman. She's been a strong woman her whole life. She doesn't know herself apart from being a strong woman. That's what I'm like, that's what it's about with fitness with the kids. It's not about like getting them to be little bodybuilders or like doing the weights. It's about instilling in them mindsets, instilling in them beliefs about power. So when they're our age, they don't have to wrestle with some of the things we're wrestling with. Not being motivated, not being disciplined. It's hard for people in their 30s to get into the gym and be consistent because they never did it in their life. Yep. So you haven't done this for 30 years. Now all of a sudden you want to get in the gym, and so you're having to overcome 30 years of not doing it. So it's probably going to take you about 50 years to get into it. You don't got time. Yep. So it's hard for people to like stay locked into it. But like, what if you started with the kid was 5 and they don't know any different? That's why LeBron James is successful, bro. Like he's been on the grind with basketball since he was a boy. Yep. He doesn't know any different. That's why it's hard for them when they retire, because they don't know no different. That's what you're putting into your kids, you know. And we do that consciously or subconsciously. You know, you can do that with money, fitness, lifestyle, travel, whatever, drugs, anything. you're instilling in your kids. So, that's what it's about. It's about taking my kids, have fun with them. We bond over it. We have a good time. We challenge each other. We encourage each other. They love seeing their little results. And so it's about building them up. That's really what it is. And I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the thing I like about that too is that it gives them like a baseline. You know what I mean? Like a standard. Like, there's times where you have a really bad day and you're like, man, I'm going to go to the gym. You might be going through a divorce. You're like, man, I'm going to go to the gym. You're going through a custody battle. You're like, man, I'm going to go to the gym.
Yeah, it's a coping mechanism, a healthy one.
Exactly. And like even like LeBron, he's like talks about how a lot of basketball players talk about the basketball gym being like a sanctuary,
it is,
because they can go there and lock into something that they're familiar with, that they know that they're good at, that kind of like you can find a rhythm that is almost like a meditation.
You get to escape. Remember Isaiah Thomas went through that when he lost his sister? He was playing for the Celtics.
Oh, yeah.
And the sister passed away. And he describes like, man, those games. And he was popping off in the games, bro.
Crazy.
He was going crazy.
40, 50.
Bonkers. Yeah.
5'9", bro. That's still mind-blowing to me.
He was going bonkers. But he was coping with the death and the grief of losing his sister. And he would just, like he said, he just lock into his sanctuary and just like pour out the emotion. And it's a healthy way. Because as men, as fathers, we go through a lot. We carry a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, and oftentimes we are conditioned to coping with those stresses and pressures in unhealthy ways. And that's different for all of us. I have them too. You know what I mean? So, we have to identify healthy ways to cope, and then also a healthy community and context to cope within around other people who love and care for us.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why community is everything.
1,000%.
It's so funny because I just heard this song called Lean On Me. It just came out. Go check it out. I forgot who the artist is, but it's like, lean on me if you're not strong. Yeah. Your friend.
I don't even know who sings that. That's like a classic.
Yeah, I think it was on the movie Lean On Me.
Yeah, it was. It was.
But it just came out. No, it's been out for a long time. But yeah, anyway, so that's a dope song. Check out the Phenomenal Fatherhood community. Just revamped the website, so y'all check that out. What you got on time, Mike?
8 minutes.
Okay, cool. So, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so check that out. So definitely, for sure, I wanted to tell you about the fitness part. I think with my kids, they just started in the taekwondo, so that's been super interesting. But I love that you can use it as a platform to build mindsets.
Yeah.
Use it as a platform to build character. And the great thing about fitness is that no matter where you go, you take your body with you everywhere.
1,000%, bro. 1,000.
I tell dads all the time, there's no way I could have the energy to have a business, have kids, and do everything that I'm doing if I wasn't at least working out for a minimum of 30 minutes, maybe 3 times a day, at minimum twice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because from an energy standpoint, like I need that, fam.
You need it. Yeah, bro. Listen, and our kids are the same age. They're in developmental years. So pretty much we're molding them. We're shaping them into the human beings that they're going to be for the rest of their life. Who and what we are today was determined when we were pretty much ages 3 through 18-ish. You know what I mean? So when your child is in that developmental stage, you have to probably be more intentional and more conscious than ever because you're really forming and fashioning the person of them. So it's important what you instill in them, how you treat them, how you talk to them, how you discipline them, how you encourage them. All those things, all the things matter. And they're going to get older and take away certain things, So one thing I love that you do is like you have open conversations with your kids about your parenting. Like your kids can talk to you about like, Dad, you know what? You really did this and hurt my feelings. And you can have an honest conversation. You know how that's going to change your family tree forever. You know what I mean? Like your family tree will forever be different because you parent like that. Because your son's going to take that and your daughter, and they're going to take that on. Like you literally have changed your family tree.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah. I never thought about it that way, but yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you have, bro, because of how you parent.
Yeah.
In these formative years.
Yeah, and I love listening to them too, because it's like they be having some profound stuff sometimes. I be like, man, I remember one time I asked my son a business question. Like, I asked him straight up, I was like, man, I don't know what to do about this situation. He's like, oh, Dad, you should do this, this, and this. I was like, I almost crashed my car, boy. That's the best thing I ever heard you say.
Put that boy on payroll.
But that's the plan. That's the plan. You know what I'm saying? Have everybody on payroll.
Watch
I ain't
him
lying
fire.
to
He gonna
you.
get the job and fire you.
That's the goal. Catch me in DR. Bye. Call me if you need something. Send a carrier pigeon. I'm out. I'm learning how to surf this year. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. So,
That's awesome.
but yeah, man, my daughter actually made me this bracelet. So she has her creative side. So that's really cool because they all have their different like talents and skills and abilities, which has been super awesome to see. But yeah, so talk about that. Like how you been doing with the balance of like work and like this is one of my things, right? Because I know you're a Kobe fan.
Okay.
One of the things that people never talk about is how great of a dad Kobe was. But he said that whenever he was on the court, he had to create the Mamba mentality, like the Black Mamba, in order to separate that Kobe from the person that he needed to be to destroy his competitors, as he put it. But then when he walked in, he was like a brand new person. So how have you been able to kind of like balance that between everything you have going on with the brand, you know, with the podcast, with work, and then you got real estate, then you got the kids. So how you been able to kind of like juggle all these moving pieces and still keep the cortisol levels low?
Bro, first off, balance is a lifelong pursuit.
Right.
Okay. I don't know if you ever really get it.
Yeah.
But for me, what works for me is I don't compartmentalize my life too much. So I think sometimes people are like, I have this going on over here, I have this over here, and you got all these different compartments and you keep them in their separate spaces, whereas I like to make it more cohesive. And so like the gym and being a dad, I don't do one or the other. It's not like, well, I can't go to the gym because I'm with my kids this weekend. I want to bring the two together. I'm going to the gym with my kids. As a matter of fact, they're going to work out too.
Yeah.
They're going to get on this bench press with me. They're going to do curls with me. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't compartmentalize a lot of things. Now, some stuff, there's not a lot of overlap, of course. But I think what works for me in the balance of life, responsibilities, business, is to kind of like see where, you know, it could be collaborative and more cohesive and more inclusive. So I have my kids with me in some business meetings. Like I make them sit at the table and they're expected to take one note. What's one thing that you heard, that you learned, that you stuck with? Because I want them to watch me work and I want them to start picking it up. Make sure they're paying attention. But sometimes, you know, they're just kids. You know, they're 8 and 7. They don't care about real estate transactions. So, you know, I let them be on their tablet and stuff, but they're there. They're in the environment. So, you know, that would be my advice, is to try to create bridges instead of having just a bunch of different separate parcels in your life. So
I love that.
Yeah.
If you had a time machine and you could talk to yourself right before you had kids, what's one or two things that you would share just to kind of prepare yourself for knowing what you know now in this journey?
First thing I would share would be, don't get married. Don't do it, bro. Don't do it. It ain't what you think, my dog. No, I'm just joking. I'm being silly. Because I wouldn't have my kids if I didn't get married. So, but no, you know, for me, like, probably the most important thing I would tell my younger self is probably a couple of things, honestly. First off, you know, like your belief in God. You know, like life is going to happen for all of us, bro. Like it's going to happen. And all of us go through our different types of hardship. You know, and nobody's exempt from it. So like your belief in something outside of yourself is pretty much imperative to your survival and your thriving in life. So, you know, seek God and believe in God would be my first thing. The other thing would be to listen to your parents. That's what I tell my younger self. I probably could have spared myself like 40% of misery if I would just listen to what my parents told me. You know, so I was just being hard-headed, being arrogant, egotistical, thinking I know it all when I don't, when I experience nothing. And if I would have just listened to my parents and just have more humility, like, you know what, I'm going to trust my dad, I'm going to trust my mom, I probably could have saved myself, not just headache, but I probably would have found myself in better situations. And then the last thing I would say is I would encourage myself, my younger self, to be very careful of the company you keep. Like, be very selective on your friends. Have discernment of the people and the energy that you keep around you. And surround yourself around people that are positive, that are supportive, that love you, that care. that are not jealous or insecure, and people that are ambitious and striving for things. Like find people of light. Like don't be around people that are putting out darkness in the world. So yeah, that's kind of what I tell myself. Seek God, listen to parents, and be in the light. Find good people.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Like, that belief in God, man, is something. Because when you're young, you just be like, man, I got it. You know, I hit my 30s. I was like, I don't got it. Somebody send help, please. Somebody send help. But it's like all your kids, your wife, your fiance, everybody come to you with like all this stuff. You know, they're always coming to you and like, oh, all these different solutions that you need to have. Like, you need to have somebody that you believe in that you can go to. Because at the end of the day, it's like, if you don't have nobody that's going you can go to and get that from, it's crazy. Like, I'm not perfect Christian by any means. I'm not perfect whatsoever. But if anything, that's why we need it more.
No, for real.
Because it's like a mental thing, you know? So, yeah, that's big time. I know we already hit the mark. We might have to come back with a part 2. Let people know how they can find you. Make sure you drop a comment. Like he said, he gives his kid to drop one note. To just drop one note, something that you heard today that you got some value out of. You know, you could at least do better than. How old are your kids? 7 and 8? No, 9.
6 and 8. They're coming up on 7 and 9. They're about to have birthdays.
Okay, 7 and 9. So if you're older than 7 and 9, you can achieve this task. We'll see.
We just want one comment.
That's
just
it.
one comment.
Just one comment.
One comment. That's all we ask.
Let people know how they can find you and get in touch with you.
Yes, of course. I'm on all socials, so you can follow me on Instagram. My main profile is at Mr. MrLyndonJ, Mr. Lyndon J. If you're into the fitness, I have a fitness page as well. It's at GYM Jones _ Jim Jones. And then I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. Everything's Mr. Lyndon J. Website Mr. Lyndon J. Designed by Tillman.
Yeah.
So just Google Mr. Lyndon J. You'll find me.
Yeah.
You'll find the platform somewhere.
Yeah. He's not hard to find. And then why do they tap in with the podcast?
Oh, yeah, man. The podcast, I appreciate you asking. So, look, I'm a co-host of one of the newest, hottest true crime divorce podcasts. It's called Untying Knots. My co-host, Angelica Robles, she was a former undercover agent, right? And she was an undercover agent for multiple government agencies for many, many years. She unknowingly married into the Mexican cartel, right? And so that's the whole storyline, the premise. And then from there, we talk about her high-profile divorce. We get into my divorce. So, man, we get into everything: dating, cheating, infidelity, polygamy, like true crime. And we get into all of it, human trafficking. So Untying Knots, we're everywhere. You can find us on YouTube, untying.knots, TikTok, Untying Knots as well, Instagram. So, yes, like, subscribe, follow.
Yeah.
Comment, do all the things. Listen.
Share.
That's most important.
Sharing is caring.
Most important.
But yeah, man, shout out to our engineer, Mike. Miggity
Shout
Mike
out
Lowry.
to Mike from Chicago.
Chi-Town in the building. You know what it is. Windy City. Shout out to my boy Ye as well. Doing things in Chi-Town.
You said it like you know.
I just talked to him last week.
Oh, that's what's up.
He was like, Jesus walks.
Tell him to send us a beat.
Oh, yeah, I told him that 6 years ago. I'm still working on it, though.
Send a beat.
Yeah, I'm putting it on a Phenomenal Fatherhood site.
Do it.
I'm with it. You know, I will rap. I've been doing mixtapes, and I did an LP.
You had a freestyle before the show.
I did? Oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
You had a little flow for us.
Yeah, I be freestyling. Okay, this is my last thing. That's been my new favorite thing, bro. I love trying to get my kids to rap. It's like the most funniest thing, bro. Like,
what's their rap names?
Oh, I don't even know.
They need rap names.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on that tonight, actually. But yeah, bro, I'll put on an instrumental. Like, I'm so intentional about it. Like, I'll be driving down the road, going to my son's basketball game with an instrumental on. Like, all right, who going back door? 3, 2, 1, Tillman, go. He'll be like, yeah, my dad's so cool. I go to lunch and I eat some box food.
Yo,
I'll be like, okay.
What you gonna do when he make a diss track on you, though?
Oh, I'm gonna come back with it. I'm
here for the diss track. Tell TG4 send me the diss track.
Bro, I'm so with it.
I hope he go Kendrick Lamar on you.
I hope so, because I'm coming with them bars. You best believe. I know everything about you since you were born.
You gonna spit on your son?
Hard. Like, he's going to be like, Dad, like, I didn't even know you could rap like that. You're always playing around. I'm going to be like, nah, bro. I'm going to get the pen and paper. like y'all probably not doing because y'all had grew up with computers, and I'm about to go Eminem on you.
That's hilarious.
I'm gonna listen to Lil Wayne for a week and then just be like,
yo, we're gonna get y'all on a verse or a smack.
Yeah.
Get a little rap battle. TG3 versus TG4.
Ooh, it even sound fire. Sound like some Dragon Ball Z finale. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how it goes.
Goku versus Gohan.
Yeah. You can download it today on Napster. We'll see y'all in the next episode, man. It's your boy TG3, Phenomenal Fatherhood. Uno out.